Welcome to Pop-O-Holics, the show about hot takes, hotter than hot, tasty pancakes, where we're covering a director who might not be in the most fashion, but at least he didn't make Sam Neill do a terrible American accent. If this is your first time on the show, welcome. I'm Christian. I'm the host of this wacky thing we call a podcast. And I'm joined as always by my two best friends,
Chris Conkling
and Brian Dupree.
Gentlemen, we're on the heels of recording quite the San Diego Comic-Con 2022 special. It is very late. It might get a little schnauzey up in here, but how you gentlemen doing tonight?
I'm doing well, fueled by the energy of the nerds at Comic-Con. I'm building a big old nerdy spirit bomb over here. So after this recording, hopefully I can stay awake.
We can
and
pause
edit
so
the
you
video.
can go take a shit, Chris.
I need to drop this spirit bomb off if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Earth, I need you.
Oh my God.
Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm, speaking of the Comic-Con stuff, these are some of the hottest takes that we've put out in a while. We are going to be right on the news for those. So definitely go back and check out Monday's episode for some Comic-Con stuff that just dropped.
Some might even say that some of the takes are undercooked. We pumped them out so quickly.
We pumped it faster than Chris would be able to land that spirit bomb later. Anyway, yeah, it was a very exciting episode. I think we did some good work. It was fun. It's going to be a great YouTube video, too, so check that out if you're an audio feed listener and you want to get caught up on all things Comic-Con. But this is a main topic episode of which we theme our months, and you gentlemen know we do things a bit different around here. So
you don't say.
Not only do
It's
we
just
cover...
back every time, yeah.
Well, the
made
thing
the
is,
return.
we do them differently. Normal podcast, like a normal boring bullshit podcast that you might already, that you might also like listening to. They'll review a new movie. Nay, more I ask of our podcast. What do? We go back and we get the sauce around that film. So we covered Thor: Love and Thunder, the fourth Thor. Everybody loves it. It was such a good idea to base our whole month on such a popular flick. People can't wait to hear about. We have that review up, but we decided, hey, let's look at the films of the man that made the movie. And that's why we're ending July, and we did all July is, hey there, Jalila, what's it like in Taika Waititi?
Hey there, Delilah, what's it like in Taika Waititi?
Thank God we don't have to listen to that ever
I'm
again.
excited that it's done.
I'd say in the history of our months, we really try to come up with a nice punny name, and that one took me an incredible amount of time. You gentlemen were down and out. You said there's nothing that can be done. I had one that was very risque that we definitely could not.
Unsurprising.
That was
You
even
should tell us off mic for sure.
too much for even me to say on this show, even with complete creative control. But I'm very happy for it, gentlemen. It's been a little bit of a cushion. I know not Thor 4, Thor's Thor was not Thor's Thor starring Gore. Was not everybody's favorite cup of tea as far as the film, but gentlemen, I've had a blast going back through it and seeing that this director does such great work outside the MCU that we all agree is super great. What have you guys thought of the month so far?
Oh yeah, I've absolutely loved everything that we've watched this month outside of Fourscore and Thor's 4 starring Gore. Taika Waititi is incredibly consistent when it comes to his own personal independent works. And we didn't watch all of his movies this month because we also covered Jojo Rabbit earlier in the podcast, and we've talked about What We Do in the Shadows during our Vampire Month a couple of years ago. But we've seen his entire filmography come the end of this episode, and he is a creative genius. I think he has exceptional vision and talent. His sense of humor is very unique, and all of his films are a ton of fun outside of one blemish. But I don't think that should be held against him. Going back and rewatching all these movies has been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I second all of that. I mean, starting from the beginning, you just see the man is clearly an auteur. He's got clear directorial vision, and it shines through most obviously in his non-MCU stuff for sure. And
Let's not. Ragnarok's a pretty good movie. Ragnarok's.
No, it is. I'm a fan of his MCU stuff, but and he does interesting visual things there as well, but it's not in the same way that his other movies do. But yeah, he definitely has a voice in a way that not a lot of MCU movies do in that regard. But yeah,
it honestly makes me wish that he was able to do a little bit more in the MCU, because I'm thinking with an MCU character completely in the style of Boy, or this film in particular, like it really nails the tonal problems that a lot of people have had with his fourth Thor movie really, really well. Like it has its quintessentially Taika Waititi, and it's a very serious film, but it's we're going to get into all that. But I think through this and Boy, he's shown that he can pull off the mix of tone incredibly well, and even in Eagle vs. Shark. So if you want to know more about our thoughts on those movies, we covered all of them. I'm a defender of the fourth Thor. I liked it. Can't wait to watch it again. So if you want, I think that might be my most spicy take of the last couple months. I found myself talking to coworkers very alone on that boat that is
Christian,
guided by llamas.
that's unfortunate.
I have to say, I love your bravery. You are a Last Jedi fanatic. You like this new Thor movie. I just commend you for really sticking it to
It's like the way that I can
the more
tamper
toxic elements of the fan base.
I can like let nerds know that they'll hate me is before I talk about any like superhero movie. I'll be like, listen, I like Iron Man 2, I like Age of Ultron, and I like The Last Jedi, and I like the fourth Thor movie.
Let me just get this out of the way.
Let me get that out of the way so you can know that my opinion is quote unquote invalid in your eyes. If I think that's
I don't think it's invalid at all. I like your opinion.
but let's get to mine and your guys' opinions on our final Taika Waititi film of the month, Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
Ricky Baker.
He is a bad egg, a youth court regular.
We're hoping that this change of scene will help straighten him out.
You hungry? That's a silly question, isn't it? Look at you. Ricky Baker, now you are 13 years old. You are a teenager and you're as good as gold. Ricky, this is Heck. You can call him Uncle if you like.
I can't.
Paula told me to tell you that you should give me something to do. Is there anything you want me to do?
Yeah. Leave me alone.
Cool. You ever been up in that jungle before?
There's about 1 million hectares of it, buddy. It's easy to get lost.
You lost?
Oh,
I'm amazed how lost you got. You little bastard! We got no choice but to camp out here for a few weeks.
Where are you, Ricky Baker?
More on this massive national manhunt.
Faulkner is Caucasian. Well, they got that wrong because you're obviously white.
You're going to jail, you pervert.
What you call me?
You pervert.
Back up, homies, and let go of my uncle. So what do we do now?
Shit just got real. That is from the trailer of Hunt for the Wilderpeople, directed by Taika Waititi, written by Taika Waititi, based on the book Wild Pork and Watercress by Barry Crump, with a score by Monikor. Cinematography by Lachlan, Milne. With a budget of $2.5 million, it grossed $23.2 million. And it stars Sam Neill, Julian Dennison, Rima Rachel House, Rhys Darby, Oscar Knightley, Stan Walker, Taika Waititi, and many more. So what are we going to be doing? We're going to be talking about our non-spoiler thoughts. We try not to spoil movies, even in these retrospectives, in case it's a film you haven't seen, and you just love hearing the sound of our voices, in which case you're a crazy person. But that's okay. We love you. We want you to stick around. Brian is shaking his head. He says,
You're
don't
not crazy. You're not crazy.
insult our fans. And I will. I don't like listening to me. I hate editing the episodes. I hate listening to myself. Am I going down a rabbit hole of self-loathing too much? You guys are staring at me. Anyway, so we're going to do that, non-spoilers, and then go into spoilers and talk about our stand-up moments, what we think is really working in this film, and give some final thoughts on it, because we do things a bit different around here. I don't know if you know that. That's what we do. Brian.
Do we?
Bit different.
We do.
A bit different.
Thanks.
Around here.
It's almost midnight for our record. Brian.
Getting slap happy here. I think this Hunt for the Wilderpeople is easily the most beautiful of his movies up to this point. It starts off with these incredible aerial shots. I'm not sure if it's all drone, but we definitely get a lot of drone footage throughout the course of this, and just showcasing the New Zealand landscapes and people set against it, and how small they look in comparison. Just some really beautiful stuff throughout the course of this entire movie. It's hilarious, as all of his movies are, but as you mentioned earlier, Christian, it's very serious in terms of the plot and kind of showcases a child welfare system that sometimes fails children and just moves them around to sometimes environments that aren't good for them, and often environments that aren't good for them, really. And this is a problem that obviously is expands far beyond New Zealand. Definitely in the United States, there are similar issues with the foster care system and the child welfare system. So very just conceptually dark there, but still a very, I think, heartwarming and hopeful movie in a lot of ways, given that, which is really Taika's bread and butter, is walking that fine line. And getting to our characters, Christian, you mentioned bad American accents earlier. I'm not sure I knew Sam Neill was from New Zealand prior.
He's from Australia.
From Australia, yeah.
Oh, he's from Australia? Okay. All right. So I didn't realize that he wasn't American prior to this. So this was kind of interesting to hear him do an accent and look it up. It was like,
Did you watch Dominion? His American accent's real rough.
Is it? Okay. I don't think we talked about that.
Sorry. I think I mentioned it, but neither here nor there.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't take me out of it, but seeing Sam Neill here, I think he's really great, and none of our characters are perfect people, but they all become, throughout the course of the movie, so endearing still, and I think we end up loving them and seeing through some of the times where they honestly kind of step over the line or cross boundaries that are uncomfortable, and things that maybe they regret in time. Julian Dennison as Ricky Baker is just the heart of this movie. Hilarious. The acting that he's doing emotionally works so well, and he brings so much to this character. He really holds the movie together.
I believe this is his first film as well.
Is it? Okay. Wow. Taika continuously putting people in the leads that are kind of that way, it seems.
Taika revealed in an interview just on this subject that the way that he looks for child actors, because obviously he's done it in Boy, he's done it throughout his career where he gets really great performances out of children. And he said the secret is that you find the kid that you're looking for. You find a bunch of kids that are just that person. He's like, because they're better at acting when they are that, and they can just be themselves because they don't have a lot of the shame or the tricks that older actors. But he said the trick is to find. So he found Ricky Baker. He found the character and just put him on screen.
He was just he didn't have to act. That's Julian Dennison.
Which is like that. That it seems way too honest. Which is like now he's not actually acting. We just found someone who was that person, and we put him on screen, and it worked out. You know, it's kind of like that's his, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, continue.
Well, he made a great choice.
Yeah, definitely did. Similarly with Auntie Rima, played by Rima Wiata, well-meaning and super sweet. Just again, she kind of makes some jokes to him early on that. Just like the fat jokes, obviously, but we immediately see how much she cares about him, and their relationship happens really quickly, and I think it's really sweet. As I've come to expect from Taika at this point and his team, we have cinematographer Lachlan, Milne, as you said, Christian. We have editors Yana Gorskia, who worked on What We Do in the Shadows with him, Luke Haig and Tom Eagles, doing interesting and unique visual edits here, some of which I'm going to get to in favorite moments. Always really just impressive stuff that's happening with the camera, and things that feel fresh and keep the movies interesting visually. So I loved this one. This is probably my favorite Taika movie. Coming back through these, it's hard to see another one at this moment taking its place. This one worked on nearly every level for me.
It's particularly well edited. I will say that that's like a key to it working. They have a lot of those, like you said, drone sweeping landscape shots, and they try to connect it all. And they're clearly like, some stuff, they're really deep in the bush, and other times it seems like they're maybe somewhere else that maybe isn't as, and the way they're able to interweave it all together, and some of the dynamic cuts in camera, it's one of his more visually impressive, especially out of this, but obviously one of his highest budget movies for his work that he's done in New Zealand. Chris, your non-spoiler thoughts on Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
Brian, you and I feel very similarly about this movie. This is one of my favorite Taika Waititi films. What I really love about the movie is that it starts in a place where you think it's kind of going to be this wholesome family comedy, and then the inciting incident sends our characters off on an adventure that's just like totally unexpected, and allows Julian, Dennison, and Sam Neill's characters to kind of, blossom and build this bond between one another and experience this hardship together. And they play so well off of one another. The comedy really just comes from their interactions. And Julian Dennison's character is, as Ricky Baker, kind of his like blind delusional confidence that we see drop every once in a while because he is just kind of like a 12-year-old kid, he hasn't experienced a lot of the world. But then you have Sam Neill, who's playing this like very world-worn adult father figure, uncle as he calls him. And it's just fun to see that relationship grow and then learn to love one another over the course of the movie. But as you guys mentioned, this film is phenomenally edited. I was going to make a stupid joke and say that Taika is able to navigate the New Zealand bush very well. But Christian kind of beat me to it. It's a very unpleasant sentence to say. But in terms of editing and cinematography, this really is a beautiful movie. I love what Rachel House is doing in this movie. She pops up in every single one of Taika's films, and she's always playing a really funny character. And this one in particular, she's relentless.
Give her a lot of time to stretch her legs and have a lot of great moments.
Yeah, she is relentless in her hunt to get Ricky Baker back. And
No child left behind.
No child left behind.
No child left behind. And it leads to some of the funniest moments in the entire movie.
Yes.
But yeah, I absolutely adore this film. I think in past episodes over the course of the month, I've said that What We Do in the Shadows is like among one of my favorite films. But I think What We Do in the Shadows has to be set apart in regards to tone of what Taika does, because as we've mentioned in other episodes this month, most of his movies are these kind of heartfelt films that ride the line between comedy and tragedy, whereas What We Do in the Shadows is really more of just like a straight comedy mockumentary. So in regards to, Jojo Rabbit, Hunt for the Wilderpeople, Boy, and Eagle versus Shark, I think that this is, like you, Brian, probably among my favorite.
Yeah, and it's not, I think that even in What We Do in the Shadows, and I'll argue Thor 4 and Ragnarok and even Eagle vs. Shark, there's what Taika's exceedingly good at is in his more comedic films actually drawing out more humanity. You think of the familiars that are in What We Do in the Shadows, and there's actually a lot of genuine empathy that you feel, and the vampires themselves of like, you kind of feel that they kind of have that main character from Eagle vs. Shark vibe, which is you kind of like they're assholes, but there's a layer of tragedy and self-loathing and emptiness that's inside that you see through the humanity. And that's something like he's able to really like get across. That's, I don't want to say Shakespearean, but that is kind of like the nature of Shakespeare. When we talk about dramedies, it's like, well, the original comedy was a drama, the original, like all this stuff, which probably stems even further back than that. But as far as Western media, stems from, sorry, I keep
Christian's beating the fuck out of his mic.
Yeah, you can't hear it though because I have a really good mic. So you didn't even need to call it out because it's audio only. Is it audio
funny.
only? Yeah, I was able to beat up my mic because I'm not on camera. Able to take the core of what I think Western dramas are and excel at it. Like, it seems like a back to basics drama, whereas we like always we were promoting like, oh, but he's also really funny, and I really think that he just understands the core of drama in most of his flicks, even for like general audiences and stuff. So I think that shines through with this film. It is very heartfelt. It feels very authentic. Our characters, you mentioned the child actor, Julian Dennison. It feels authentic. He feels like a real kid. And I think they did such a good job with casting him, obviously. And Sam Neill, never been in a movie like this. Sam Neill is like a sci-fi kind of like, I think Event Horizon, Jurassic Park, right? I don't think of him as in, he's the perfect gruff character. And it's such a great casting choice from who he is in pop culture and what we've seen him as, that really boon the entire narrative of this film. And Rachel House, come on. What else? What else you gotta say? Really, like, she should be in more shit. I don't know why she's not in more shit. She should come do American shit for sure. Everybody should.
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, but like,
and they killed her.
But like more,
like real American film.
Like not MC, like anything but the MCU.
Agreed.
Rhys Darby.
True American cinema.
Rhys
Rhys Darby.
Darby. My goodness.
Oh, phenomenal. What an excellent cameo in this movie.
So I don't know if it's not a cameo. It's a character.
This is the first time he's popped up in one of, well, What We Do in the Shadows came out before this, but this is like the start of seeing him pop up more in Taika Waititi projects, despite them having been friends for such a long time.
Right. We hadn't seen him in Boy, and hadn't seen him in Eagle vs. Shark. Yeah, he's particularly funny in this one, and I really like his character. I think it's more than a cameo. He's like a full blown character. He's like he plays Matt Damon.
Not literally.
Not literally, but like the way Matt Damon's used in movies, we use him here that way. Just introduce him, third act. Yeah. Anyway, so we're all in agreement. It's a pretty good overall flick, and I'd have to agree. I think this is his best movie, soup to nuts, and I think we see this a lot. Right? He's a great indie scrappy filmmaker who has a little bit more money, but not so much that he's not in control over all the money spent. He gets some top tier talent, but also some talent from his heritage, like where he's located, and still from the roots that helped him come up. Like, I think this is the perfect time to make a great film, and I think he nailed it. It's his like sort of his sophomore like drama attempt, because we really only had Boy before this. That was like a drama attempt, and I'm very excited. He's a very busy man now, but I'm very excited for what's to come in his future. When he's working on another like 20, like look at these budgets. These budgets are they seem ridiculous in the sense of what we talk about lately. Like $2.5 million. What the man could do with $2.5 million is insane.
I was gonna say you didn't do your certified ROI.
But of course it's certified good ROI. Shit, I forgot. I did all my other silly shit. You're right. God damn it.
You have to start putting it in the show notes.
That's why I can't. That's why I can't stand listening to myself. All right, let's move into spoilers. Talk about some of our favorite moments. We all say check it out if you haven't seen it already. It is a Sundance Cannes Film Festival. I don't know what all shit it won, but it's got all the little floral arrangements on the cover. So it's definitely won awards at
the accolades
at prestigious film. This is a very in-depth film podcast, as you can tell. Anyway, let's head into spoilers.
I like when the guy farted.
It was so funny. It was so funny when he farted, and we were like, ah! Farts are fucking funny.
Highbrow.
Legitimate 2022 film criticism. This is the last episode of the podcast. Brian, what were some standout moments for you? We're hunting the Wilderpeople.
All right, so
when he farted.
I love a good recurring. No, this is good. This is not a bad intro. The warming pad, the first piece of her kind of affection for him, showing that she's thinking about him, she's caring about him.
Wait,
and
I thought that was a whoopee cushion.
It does kind of
look
like
it was a hot water
cushion.
bottle.
Oh, is that what that? I mean, I've grown up in Florida my whole life. I guess both of you have too. I thought it was a whoopee cushion.
I'm not used to it.
No, I'm fucking serious.
The hot water bottle, bro.
Dude, I liked Iron Man 2. What do you expect from me? I'm subhuman. I'm a Last Jedi defender. I don't know what hot water bottles are.
So yeah, I think it's something. Yeah, right. You put hot water in it, and you have it in your bed to keep you warm.
Yeah.
And then you sit on it. It sounds like a fart.
Yes, it makes funny
And all the
noises.
water sprays out of it.
Yes,
It's a wet fart.
really gives the sound some texture. But yeah, I thought the way that this was used and that he ultimately rips it and it comes back, at the very end, is just this classic screenwriting thing that Taika does so well that even though we lose Auntie early on, we have the ashes, and she's still, with us throughout the course of the movie. And I think all of those things just were really working for me.
I love that moment when, it's revealed that Ricky has been carrying her ashes the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Because, earlier in the film, Sam Neill's character is just kind of putting her in a box, going to put her away with all of her belongings to never see them again. Like, he just doesn't want to remember. But he's so genuinely grateful by that time in their adventure. It's a very touching moment between the two of them.
And we get the heartbreaking moment earlier on when they get to a place where Ricky is asking him, like, are we at this place that she said she was from? And he just dismisses it and says, she was just making that up. She didn't know where she was from. And so the fact that it comes around and she does it, and then he ends up doing it, is so sweet.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris.
Man, there's so many great moments over the course of the movie. I guess I'll lean on a more comedic moment. When they get to the first campsite and they're encountered by the hunters, and the guys are trying to turn them into the police, and Ricky is saying all these things that he thinks are helpful, but it actually sounds like Sam Neill has been molesting him in the wilderness.
Right. Oh my God.
But the fact that they run away from that campsite and then they get to a top of a hill and Sam Neill points out to Ricky that what he was saying was inappropriate. And then there's a beat. And then Julian Dennison is like, oh no. But then it is funny that comes back around at the very end of the film when they're about to be captured. And he's like, he's a molesterer.
Right.
Very funny stuff.
He does these things so well throughout all of his projects, which are reoccurring elements that are both comedic or sentimental. And the way that he layers them in is quite. It seems simple on the surface, but again, as I said on the Boy episode, very few there's so many writers, screenwriters, and directors that just forget to do this type of what seems like mechanically easy, but emotionally very important things. And having those occurring characters that they end up robbing later on, and even towards the end of they play a crucial role in the final part of the chase scene. I appreciate that Taika in his best work is always doing that. And I think even in, listen, I'm not keep talking about Thor 4, but there are elements that do the same kind of thing. And those are the things that I think bound that movie together. And there are remnants of that throughout all of his work, even the ones that aren't as well received. But yeah, I was God damn it, all my notes were about the whoopee cushion.
I'm rethinking everything about this movie.
It reminded me of? It was I was flooded with memories of when I first went to Germany when I was 18, and they had they had a thing that heated the towels. And I was like, why the fuck would you need to heat up the towels? I just took a hot shower. But it's because it's freezing there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never lived in a cold
Or
climate.
places that have heated flooring.
Yeah. Oh, it had all the heated thingamabobs. It was a great stay. I'd shout them out, but it was like, and can't pronounce it. But it was wonderful. Good schnitzel.
When I went to Japan, they had heated toilet seats, and we went in the winter.
See, but I know going
excellent.
Going to Japan, I'm like, God, I can't wait to fucking check out those toilets. And I'm serious, 100%, because they do good toilets. over there in Japan.
Japan knows their toilets.
You sent me a picture. You sit down on the toilet, your junk is automatically censored out. It's pretty incredible tech.
It's a Bluetooth connection between the toilet and the phone.
Yeah.
It just applies the filter automatically.
Yeah, only needed 4 blocks for you, Chris, so.
Oh, thanks, dude. Thanks.
What is a weird penis dig I had at you? We'll edit that out. That was mean. That was just cruel. What I like? I like everything. This is actually one of those hard ones where I've seen this movie before, so it's like nothing stands out specifically other than like this movie's like nearly perfect. Like it is just a great wonderful watch through all the way. But this time I was going through Taika's stuff. It's very interesting to see how he's put himself into his movies. I think you have some director, writer, actor combos where it's like they're always like, I'm thinking Zach Braff, like always the main character of a shit, or it's Affleck or Clooney, where there's clearly this like very set point of view and there's certain rules that they follow. And Taika, it always seems like he's stretching how he's going to complement his stuff. We see him as basically a very important but very like no dialogue character in Eagle vs. Shark. We see him as like a very titular like antagonist main character in Boy, and in this he's a throwaway ridiculous priest that seems to be doing something similar to what he's talking about in Thor 4, which is like mocking religious iconography and stuff, and just so disheartening. I do love him showing up. He is doing a little bit different of an accent, but the whole thing about him going through, he seems like such a delusioned priest of going through the motions of everything. It's a very jarring scene, and again, I think proves his ability when he's at his best, of mixing that tonality. It's a very sad scene, but it's harshly juxtaposed with this ceremonious, empty, vapid excuse for a funeral. And that's kind of like in a nutshell what is working so well throughout this entire film, which is this very serious element, our characters very clearly showing what they're going through, and ridiculousness that is very funny.
It becomes so pivotal because that is ultimately the real funeral comes later when they spread her ashes, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a throwaway gag, but it really does kind of like show something that was missing that gets paid off later as well.
Yeah, man. Good shout. Brian, any other stand-up moments?
I think the pig scene where Auntie kills the pig, it's shot like a slasher movie. We get flashes of red. He's clearly like having a traumatic event, like very ridiculously traumatized here. And I just thought, the scene is just shot very well and very expressive of what it must be like to be first exposed to that kind of hunting and how visceral it is. That scene definitely was a standout for me.
Yeah, no, it's very funny, and it makes so much sense with where he's at, because obviously he's putting on a tough guy routine because he's been in and out of like the system, and he's kind of disillusioned, and like he sees some real shit for the first time, and that really is like a turning point of like, oh, this woman's hard, way harder than I could ever be. It works on so many levels. Chris.
That editing style or sequencing kind of comes back later on in the film when Sam Neill has to kill another boar. And this is actually tied to a sequence that got me the first time I saw the movie, and it got me this time as well. And I alluded to it last week when we were talking about Leaf, the goat, getting hit by the car. But it's so tragic when... Sam Neill and Julian Dennison have been traveling with these two dogs through the bush for months over the course of the film, and his like sheepdog Zag has been with Sam Neill even before Ricky Baker arrived at the homestead. And when the boar fatally wounds Zag, and Sam Neill's character is forced to put him down, basically. You can feel everything that Sam Neill's feeling in that moment, because Zag is literally like the last remnant of his life with Bella, his deceased wife. and the last thing that he had. As now there's nothing other than Ricky. And I actually think that that's the turning point in the film where he begins to maybe see Ricky as more of a family member and a piece of that almost lost life.
Right.
But I just hate to see animals get hurt in movies, I guess. I initially watched this movie for the first time with my wife, and I didn't tell her what it was about when we were watching it. And when we got to that scene, she was like, "Why did you make me watch this?"
How dare you?
Sad movie. Oh yeah,
it's such a sad moment.
And it almost feels like in Boy, similar timing. I'd be interested to see the timestamp and how much it aligns. Boy, it probably happens early because it's a shorter film. But yeah, feels like he goes into these scripts and he's like, "All right, I really liked your book, but I need to find a place where I can kill an animal,
a beloved animal,
and make everybody in the theater cry quite a bit."
I thought this scene looked great as well. The whatever kind of effects they were using to make this happen, it felt pretty realistic. And
the boar is very okay CG, right? It's like the only bit.
It's like
CG.
a puppet. I think it's a
full
puppet.
CG. Okay, because
I think there's a shot of it that it's CG. I think when it's interacting with the dog, there's puppetry going on. But I want to say that we get a shot of a very not great CG boar, but not terrible.
Okay,
I mean, looks as good as any Marvel movie, so I'll give it a pass. And they're actually outside, so that helps. But yeah, overall, I think the scene is shot really well, and it's very effective. Similar to our poor, just a dog.
Oh,
poor Leaf.
Okay, so it's my turn now. All right, I love the scene where we get Paula Haas' character, Rachel Haas, on TV.
Thank you. Yes,
where
this
she's
is it.
On the New Zealand news network. They're searching for this child, and she goes on, and she just sounds like a complete sociopath. And it works really well. And she goes, "No child left on. You don't understand it, but you'll get it." And it's amazing. It's very, it like shows the disconnect between her and how she views these kids, and how I think authorities can get jaded and view the system that they're a part of and forget that they're like human beings. Like I think it accomplishes a lot of stuff dramatically as well as being very comically funny.
Constantly listing all of Ricky's offenses.
Yeah, always come back to
people
stealing. Yeah, really scrubbing the bottom of the barrel. Like just like
they're
loitering.
very minor offenses.
Burning things, spitting on things.
So silly.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, anymore.
So I think it comes pretty much right after. So the bear scene happens, then we have the ashes.
It's a boar.
Excuse me. The boar scene happens, then we have the ashes being spread, and then we get like a time lapse scene where the camera is panning, and we start seeing our characters appear simultaneously at multiple points on the screen as time is passing. And this was just one of those moments that's like, again, this kind of blows me away with how effective this is. It's a great montage, and it's just like impressive filmmaking. Just loved how that scene played out, and coming off of kind of one of the big emotional payoffs of the movie too. It really was a nice transition piece.
And you juxtapose that between the slasher boar scene as well as we get a lot of these like fun 70s like zooms in where the camera shakes and then has a real the lens zooms in, and it isn't quite maximalist filmmaking of like the Daniels or of what Scott Pilgrim tripping
Edgar Wright.
Baby Driver, Edgar Wright style thing, but it is like on the border of maximalist filmmaking where it's like a complete detour that's used for effect in the sequence, and it's not easy to pull off such a departure. I do have one thing to say about this. On this show, loyal listeners know, I have a C1 OLED. It's changed my life. It's a very affordable television. It's not the end all be all. It ain't like the new QLED, which, god damn it, I'm gonna just keep staring at it, from Sony. But it is a really good TV for the price point. The one thing that it does not do well is panning. Panning looks very bad on a C1 OLED. And it's because of the way OLED, when you're panning, it just has a very unfilmic look. It doesn't there's like no blur. So it just looks weird, and it's always jarring, and that stuck out to me. That is not a fault. I think the sequence looks great. For all the shit I've been talking about how great I love my C1 OLED, the one thing that it can't do is pan shots. Pan shot! It's a reference.
Buster Scruggs.
Chris, would you, I know this is a very big digression, but as someone who owns a slightly larger C1 OLED, would you agree that this is something you've noticed?
I'll have to go back and watch.
It's not something that stuck out to you, though.
It hasn't. Yeah. To be fair, I didn't end up watching Hunt for the Wilderpeople on my OLED television.
You watched it on your iPad, which was FaceTiming with
again.
your iPhone.
Yeah, I put it on my phone, and then I stuck the phone on the mantle and opened up the camera in the iPad and started filming the phone, and then I made sure to AirPlay what I was filming onto my standard 4K TV, not even OLED, for the optimal theater experience.
The way it was intended to be seen.
Yep.
No, I'd be curious, and I'll stop with the digression. But next time you see a pan, check it out.
Keep an eye out.
What it looks like is, when you go to someone's house and they didn't change it from the demo, sold settings where they have smooth motion. It has that kind of gloss to it. It's something that I try to play with. There's a way that I can... God, I'm going on such a tangent. There's a way that you can adjust it to fix it, but it lowers the HDR quality. So I found a medium, but it darkens the picture and basically ruins HDR.
Not worth it.
Yeah, it has something to do with how OLEDs are. But it is a beautiful shot, and it made me go, I should spend $5,000 on a Sony TV. Should definitely.
My son doesn't need to go to college.
My son doesn't need college. He needs film. He needs
entertainment.
The visual arts.
Anyway, any other stand-up moments we want to shout out? Open the floor to anybody.
Just a final comedic moment that cracked me up on both viewings of the film is when he meets the teenage girl, and he's completely enamored with her. And on the television in the background is playing a candy jingle. And Taika's kind of making fun of how in movies people will kind of fantasize about someone that's in front of them, and music will start playing behind them and stuff like that. Instead of picking an actual song, he ends up using the candy jingle as the fantasy jingle for how Ricky Baker is feeling about this teenage girl. And then he sees her later on the horse and it plays the candy jingle again.
Yep.
It's just so funny how the film has now associated his infatuation with this girl with that particular song. It's very, very funny.
Yeah, I will. I'm not gonna say it. Never mind.
Say it.
No, I was gonna say they couldn't get him on a horse.
They do put him on a horse, don't they?
No.
You don't think it's him?
I know for a fact it's not him. It's a real wide shot. Okay. Not important.
Do you think they had him fall off
This is why I
the
didn't want to
horse?
say it. This is why I didn't want to say it. No, he's not. He's never on the horse. He's never on a horse.
That's okay.
Imagine,
That's okay.
Chris, listen, we were both chunksters in our youth.
I've been on horses in my youth.
Really? I know that at my third or fourth grade weight, which is probably very close to what I am now, because I was a big old chunky chunkster. Brian knows. Big old chunkster.
You're not that big.
I don't know.
I've seen photos of you as a kid. You were not. You were like a normal American boy.
That's pretty big. It's a pretty big boy. Yeah, husky. I wore husky. They had to make up a whole new thing for us. I wore husky shorts. I know it would have been very difficult with my hand-eye coordination on top of my very large exterior rompus.
It's not easy and it's not comfortable.
I don't know. Give me a shot of Ricky Baker on a horse. I want to see it. I'm gonna cut out this whole digression because it was just mean. And let's just say I relate. The point of the moral of the story is I relate to our main character quite a bit from being a little chunky chunkster.
Oh yeah, me too.
Very sweet boy. I watched some press stuff with him, and he went on press tours with him and Sam Neill, which seems surreal to think about. If I was a kid and I was doing press tours with Sam Neill.
He's had a great career, man.
Yeah, it's a dream.
He was in Deadpool 2. He was in Godzilla vs. Kong. He's had a phenomenal career.
Yeah, it's great. It's taken off. Sam Neill as well, right?
Yeah, Sam Neill has also had a great career.
Event
I'm
Horizon.
talking about Julian Dennison. Though.
Event Horizon getting a 4K re-release, which is very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah, very very cool. All right, closing thoughts on Hunt for the Wilderpeople and Taika month.
Yeah, what more can we say? This is probably peak Taika. This is absolutely front to back incredible movie. It's got the consistent laughs. It's got so much heart, and at the end of the day, it's hopeful. Oh man, now I'm just thinking of more hilarious moments. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where Taika continues to go with his original stories, because he really shines most when he's working there.
I wholeheartedly agree, Brian. If you haven't watched any of the movies that we've talked about over the course of Taika month, why are you listening to this? Go watch those movies. They're all great. The ones.
Get out of here.
Maybe not Thor 4. Maybe you don't have to watch that one.
Get.
Wait until Disney Plus. Go on, get. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what he does independently coming up next. He's a fantastic creator, as I mentioned at the top.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've enjoyed coming back to Taika month. It's good because there's a level of almost watching Spielberg, which it's a big comparison there. I don't say that.
It's a high bar.
It's a high bar, but I think he does characters better than Spielberg. I don't think he has the visuals, the partnerships he's made with that. I do think this is one of his best looking movies. But as far as like character stuff, there is a certain fundamental basics that are always landed in the majority of his stuff that really stick out to me. Of like, why is this just such a perfect blend of drama and comedy? And that's always what I've been kind of really paying attention to through this rewatch. Is it seems simple. But so many people miss this, and he does it really well with a unique style. And I think he brings his like personal history with being a native of New Zealand, like coming out of being probably the underclass in his social standing, being like a colonized island, and bringing that upbringing genuinely through with a love of film, and that's always good to see. Diverse people come into this space and make such an impact and be able to connect with audiences. Hunt for the Wilderpeople was big in the UK. It was big in Australia, big in New Zealand, big in America for what it was, right?
The Lord of the Rings scene. I'm so sorry that I recognized it again when I've been here. When you were just bringing up the love of film. Just it's such a great moment. He's mouthing it too. It's this Lord of the Rings. You guys know what scene I'm talking about, right?
And it should be noted, this film made more in New Zealand than Lord of the Rings did.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the New Zealand box office is not comparable with most other, the Chinese market, American market, UK market. It's a lot smaller. There's not a ton of people in New Zealand. So it doesn't take much more than people like getting behind a director, and all culturally liking it to overthrow even like a big film like that. So yeah, should be noted. At least I saw an interview. It has to be true. It was, I think Taika Waititi was in an interview that it was said. So I'm going to mark that as the source.
Confirmed.
Very cool. That's going to do it for Taika. Hey there, Jalila. What's it like in Taika Waititi? Chris, don't do it again.
We're not going to do it.
Do it again.
Not going to do it.
Hey there, Jalila. What's it like
Wouldn't
in
be
Taika
prudent.
Waititi? That's right. I, the one who knocks. It's a reference. Gentlemen, where can people find more of your work on the internet?
Loyal listeners, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, comic books, television, movies, video games, collectibles. If it's nerdy, I'm talking about it. And then, of course, you can find my nerdy ramblings on a monthly basis over on carefulforspoilers.com.
You can find me on Twitter at True Pop-O-Holic.
Dad jokes, great retweets. It's a good account to follow. If you're interested in music, I do all the bumpers for the show. If you're interested in the other music I make, Midnight Satire, find on your favorite streamer of choice. New EP, Augmented Reality, came out earlier this year. As well as there's a music video. If you want to see some of the film stuff I worked on, a couple music videos accompany the release over on the Midnight Satire YouTube channel. All right. And you can find more of this show if you're listening to the audio feed on YouTube. In the show notes, you can follow the audio feed that's available on any podcast player that you want to use and vice versa. And you can rate us on your favorite podcast player. Give us that like, notification bell, all the things that content creators tell you to do.
Smash that.
If you like it, smash it. Smash. And again, we had a great Comic-Con recap. That was our latest episode. And we covered a lot of Taika's work, both on this month and previous stuff. And that's all available on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast player. Email us at Pop-O-Holicscast@gmail.com. What do you think of Taika Waititi? What is your favorite Taika Waititi movie? We want to hear all of it. What is your thought on Hunt for the Wilderpeople? Can't wait to hear from you. That's going to do it for the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this month. Next month is Chris. What are we talking about next month?
Next month, we haven't come up with a... Have we come up with a name yet, Brian, for next month?
How to
Next
Catch a
month?
Predator.
No, that's not the official
Oh, no, I
title.
did come up with one. I'll workshop it here.
Okay.
A ghost, no, that's Predator. Okay,
Right.
How to Catch a Predator it is.
Next month, we're going to be covering all the Predator movies to celebrate the release of Prey. So get pumped, kicking it off with AVP. I'm going to be absent for that episode. It's my wife's birthday, so I have to step aside. But these two gentlemen, I think, are going to have a fantastic conversation about a ridiculous movie. So tune in.
I'm actually, so I got mad at first that you're not going to be on the AVP episode because I think that is ultimately probably the most boring one, the one that's like least interesting. So excited that me and Brian have to carry the ship for that one.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, oh, you clearly bailed specifically on the worst one. How dare you?
AVP wasn't the original choice for the first episode of the month. It was at one point The Predator.
No, we want to make sure you're on that episode. So I get that. No, I'm not good at that. But I get my sweet, 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 sweet revenge. Predator 2 is like RoboCop, but not good. With Predator. You're gonna love it.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be so. I'm a fan of this franchise. Like unironically, guilty pleasure.
I think some of the movies are genuinely great.
Predator 2 is wild. It is a wild, pretty racist movie. I can't wait to get into it. It has a lot to do with LA gangs and cops, and it's very problematic. It's gonna be so good. I'm very excited to get into it. With Predators, super Predators. Hillary
The one
Clinton.
where the gang cancels Predator 2.
That's it. Just like we canceled what do we cancel?
Indiana Jones.
James Bond. Yeah, we're canceling all of them. Sometimes when a woman's acting up,
Canceled.
sometimes you gotta give her a smack. The great Sean Connery.
Oh boy.
Canceled.
Canceled after.
Guys, meeting. We're getting too woke on this podcast, okay? We gotta hit some women.
Did you watch the new Bill Burr
I
stand-up
did.
special?
That's where
so
it
did
came,
I.
That's where it came from.